Thank you very much. I'm in Spain now. I think last time we spoke, I was in Nice, wasn't I? Eh? There's a name from the past, eh? Wow. Yeah. So, I'm going back to the south of France on tomorrow. No, via Seville tomorrow. So I'll be back in France on Thursday, and then spending a bit of time with my family there for a couple of weeks. And then it's back into school and whatnot at the end of August, isn't it? September for everyone. And then it's the what I call it's like prime selling time. That it's that sort of space. There's no excuse for holidays because they're over. So it's good for business. That's what I'm saying, because there's none about holiday excuses, and there's none about Christmas excuse until sort of the middle of November, is there? So it's. Do you find that it's a good time for being productive?
Yeah, generally speaking, a bit better. Yeah, like I said, holidays are always more in work.
Yeah. The thing is, what I've found is people love to procrastinate, don't they? They love to put off doing today, to put off till tomorrow what they could actually do today, and the break. Because I found this out, I can't remember this lady's name actually, but she's an expert on the brain and on the way the mind works. And she told us, but I will remember who it was, or seek her out, and I'll send it through to Carl or to Darren, because it's very interesting this. She told us that our brain is naturally hardwired to take us down the path of least resistance, yeah? And usually the path of least resistance, when it comes to making progress or doing things or making decisions, is in direct conflict with that, because it means change. It means doing something maybe a bit uncomfortable. So our brains magically will always find an excuse for us to do something else, which is probably far more menial than what we should be doing. Have you ever found that? Yeah, like I've got something really important to do now. I don't really want to do it. I know it's going to take me from point A to point B, but I really don't want to do it. But you know, I tell you what is important: updating my iPhone. That's super. That sort of thing. Brain just finds these sort of trivial things to fill the time. But we're not actually getting paid for updating the iPhone, or we're not making any real progress. But yeah. So guys, I just wanted to just have a general chit chat today and ask you a little question. So what constitutes a business? Your business, or any business for that matter. What constitutes a business?
Organisation designed to make money.
Yes. Let me be more specific. What components do you need? There are. This is not a trick question, by the way. What 3 components are vital for a business to succeed, or even to exist before it succeeds?
Customers.
Correct. Customers. What else? Say again. Sales, yeah. But just 3, because I mean, there's actually loads, but there's 3 basic ones. Let me just tell you what I thought. It's you guys. You are that business there. If you take you out of that building, what is it? It's just a building. Yeah. So there's the people who work in the business. Then there's the product or the service that we sell or offer. Yeah. Because if we haven't got that, we haven't got a business. We're just some people in a building. Make sense? And thirdly, who said customers earlier? Put your hand up, please. Bang on. There's the customers. So without the customers, we don't have a business, do we? Because it's all well and good having having the building, paying the rent, having some money in the bank, and all getting a salary and being there and having products or services. But without customers, there's not a lot of point. Would you largely sort of agree with that?
Yeah.
I'm just looking for something here. Just bear with me for a second. Has anyone got any comments or anything to add to that, by the way? Is there anything you feel that I might have missed with that observation? Because if I have, I'd love to hear it. Anyone want to add anything to that?
You can have all that, but still say it's not.
Say again, please, because it's really low. That's why I put that speaker on, but it didn't work too well for the microphone. It's really low.
You still need sales. You've got your customers, you've got the people, you've got your products and services.
Good point. Good point. So that brings me to one. I made a list out here about 3 o'clock this morning. I woke up and I was thinking of you guys, not individually, but I was just thinking about this meeting, and I had some ideas come to me. And one of the ideas that I wanted to share with you and see how. And by the way, the stuff that I talk about it's just ideas, it's just concepts, but most of it, 99% of it is experiential. What I mean by that is I've done it myself and it works to a lesser or greater degree successfully. So it's not just bullshit. I've not just read a book and I've been doing this for a long time in businesses, in my own businesses. And I kind of think, I heard this a long time ago and I just recalled it recently, that everybody, it's two things. Everybody's you all pay tax and national insurance and you're all employed by the company, yeah? But here's a concept for you. Everybody's self-employed. Anybody who thinks that they are absolutely safe and secure forever nowadays, because that used to be the case, didn't it? Job for life. Nowadays, and that they can hide behind other people's performance is mistaken in my view. So that's another way of saying that we all have to pull our own weight. We all have to do our best and we all have to really work with and for each other. Does that make sense? And the second thing is that regardless of what it says on your employment contract or your business card, if you've got one, does everybody have a business card, by the way? Do we still use them? No? Some do, some don't. When it's funny, when I was in, because a lot of people now, they have a business card on the phone and they meet someone and they say, oh, what's your number? I'll just ping you my business card. Have you done that?
No.
No? Well, they do, trust me. But when I was working in Asia last year, a good old-fashioned business card. It's amazing. It's like that HSBC ad that it juxtaposed customs between the East and West, if you ever saw that. What works in one place doesn't work in another. What's acceptable in one place isn't acceptable in another. And when you go to Asia, you have to have a stack of business cards, because you have to give a business card to everybody virtually when you meet them, and you must give it with two hands in the corner in an almost very subservient way, and they must take it from you with two hands, and they must be seen to read it and then look you in the eye and say thank you very much, and then they reciprocate. That's the tradition of doing it with a business card over there. So after that bit of completely useless information, but it's quite interesting because it's just a custom. Regardless of what it might say on a business card, if we've got one, I believe that everybody is a salesperson in some way, shape or form for the business. You're representing the business. Therefore, in my view, we are all salespeople to a lesser or greater extent. Do you agree with that or do you disagree with that? You don't have to agree with anything that I say either, guys. It's just my experience has taught me that we all represent a business. We are all salespeople in some way. So I'd just like you to try and sort of keep that in mind, because it's really, really important. It's really important. Going back to customers, has Carl printed out this customers charter yet?
Yeah.
Yes. No. Okay. So I'm going to go through that with you in a minute. But we've got, customers. So we've got 3 things around customers. We got customer acquisition, which is getting new customers. And then there's obviously upselling customers to more products. There's also getting referrals from customers. But the 3 things are really customer acquisition. We get customer fallout, which is a very soft, fluffy way of saying customers leave us. We lose customers. It's a fact of life, isn't it? Nobody likes to lose customers, but we do lose customers from time to time. How are we doing on that? Do we lose a lot of customers to our knowledge?
Yeah.
Why do you think that might be, that you lose more customers than we would? Well, we wouldn't like to lose any customers, would we? But more than we would say might be acceptable. Why do you think we might lose, or any business might lose more customers than might be acceptable? Say that again. Everyone's laughing. I missed the joke.
I was blaming Stefan.
Oh, you're blaming it on Stefan. Okay. All right. I mean, the key thing for building value into your business is there's 2 things. There's customer acquisition, growing the base, and then customer retention. Because we don't want to be putting 2 customers on and losing 3, because that's called taking 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. And that's a negative thing. If we're putting 3 customers on and we're losing 1, it's still not great, but it's better. So I'd like you to think about that, the ways we can retain our customers. A guy I used to work with who was very successful, very, very dynamic guy in his day, he had this saying, I don't know how politically correct it might be nowadays, but it was about customers, it was about staff, it was about everybody, and it was love them, hug them, and squeeze them. Love them, hug them, and squeeze them. It's like you might do with your kids, But I think if we love, hug, and squeeze our customers, and I speak in a lot of metaphors, do you think that might help towards the retention and keeping them on board and keeping them in the relationship with GTEC? Yeah? It's like any relationship, isn't it? You know, if you think back to personal relationships, there's a stage of courtship when we first get to know each other. And then when we get that spark going between us, we get into bed, metaphorically speaking, with the customer. It's just like a personal relationship. And then it's all great for a while, isn't it? And then what's that thing to say breeds contempt? Familiarity. Familiarity, boredom, and lack of attention. What happens when we, in a personal relationship between a man and a woman, what happens when one of them starts grossly not paying attention to the other one in the way that they used to do, in the way that used to make that person feel good and desired and needed and loved and wanted? What happens?
Someone else pays them that attention.
Get divorced.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of money.
Well,
By the way, my next gig after this is marriage guidance counselling. That's private session. I'll send you my fees. Who just gave that answer then? Somebody else pays them attention.
me.
Great answer. That's absolute. 2 things happen. They either go out in search of that attention, or you have just, what's your name, sorry?
Stefan.
You're Stefan. Okay, Stefan, I got your email earlier, thank you. Yeah, there's a saying you just reminded me of there, and it's this, it's nature abhors a vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum. That means once a gap's been created, it will naturally, by whatever means, look to be filled, yeah? So whether that person or that customer actively goes out seeking more attention or more loving and hugging and squeezing, it's going to find it, it's going to attract it in one way or the other. So here's the thing that would apply to personal relationships and business relationships. Let me ask you what you think about this. And it's something that only was brought to my attention very recently. If we did all or most of the things in a relationship or throughout a relationship that we do at the beginning of the relationship, there might not be an end to the relationship ever. How do you feel about that? Does that make sense? Does that resonate?
Yeah, it does, but I don't know if I'm leaving if you just stay the same place.
Say again, please.
If you stay at the same level, an element's bored and might creep in.
Relationship. There's no finite answer to relationships, but if we look at what we can do to maintain a relationship and keep it lively as opposed to just ignoring it, which is more of the things that we do at the beginning of the relationship. We pay our customers a lot of attention at the beginning of a relationship, guys, yeah? Don't we, Darren? We pay them, we you know, we're always calling them, we're always seeing how things are, we get them on board, we're following up, and then that tends to peter off. So like I said, this is just like, you know, a concept, but I do feel that it's got a, you know, there's a valid point, there's a valid metaphor between personal relationships, keeping them alive, keeping them fresh, and customer and business relationships, yeah? So I just wanted to go through this customer's charter, which was something that sprung to mind about a week ago, and it's a shame that I talked to Darren about this. I've got it on my phone here on Word. So it starts by saying the following. And by the way, this isn't spiritual or deep or religious. It's just my view on something. We love our customers, and here's why. And by the way, love in this instance represents good. Love can be a lot of things. It comes in many guises, yeah? And in this instance, my representation of love is good energy, loaded with positive intention for the health and the longevity of our customers. And the reason why that is, the health and longevity of our customers, and why we want to give it. I've put my glasses on now, I can see you all clearly. I thought there was something wrong. Because their good and our good are one in the same thing, if that makes sense. The good of our customers and the health and the longevity and the success of their business is the health and the longevity of our business, yeah? So there's an old cliche, guys, which says the customer is always right. And I believe they are, no matter who they are, and here's why. Our customers are everything. And going back to what we were saying a moment or two ago, when I talked to Darren last week, I said this was another metaphor. Picture one of those big houses. They have them in America a lot of the time. They're on a river and they're built on, they have them in Thailand as well. They're built on stilts, aren't they? And they're in the water. And I picture the house as being the business, full of us in it and our products and our services. And I picture the thing that supports it underneath the pillars as being our customers. So if they drop off, what happens to the business, guys? It falls into the water. And it goes back to what we were saying earlier. Our customers, and I don't know who would agree with this, they're hard won. It's hard. The hardest thing in any business, this is all these adverts and multi-million-pound social media and television campaigns that we see every day. We're bombarded with them now more than ever before. They follow us around on the internet, these adverts, don't they? People are paying millions for these. Why do you think they're doing it? I'll tell you why they're doing it. They're doing it for the purpose of customer acquisition. They're doing it to get our customers. They're doing it to get us on board as a customer. So that's an expensive and long process, yeah? So it's hard. The hardest thing in any business, or one of the hardest things, is to win new customers, yeah? And yet they're so easily lost. Would you agree? They can just fall off like that. It can be a monumental, gargantuan task to get a customer on board, but they can just change their mind like that. We do something that upsets them. We do something that pisses them off, whether we do it intentionally, unintentionally. They're gone like that. It could have taken us months to get them. So bear that in mind. Our customers are the coveted prey of our competitors who will use all methods to woo them from us. So I was talking to Carl about this last week. Does anybody know what the reticular activator is? No? A reticular activator is something in the brain. It's a relationship between the eyes and the brain. And what it means, anybody bought a particular type of car ever that you've just been sort of made aware of and you thought, oh, I quite like that, I'll buy that car. And then all of a sudden you start noticing those cars absolutely everywhere. Has anyone experienced anything like that? Yeah, we all have, all the time. And that's your reticular activator. And I was telling Carl the other week, my reticular, since working with you guys a bit and GTEC, my reticular activator has been activated when I've been on things like LinkedIn, where obviously I've searched up GTEC's website, so now Google keeps nicely, the cookies that send me things. And what I've found is I keep seeing companies that do what you do all over the internet, all over the place, all over LinkedIn. So what that tells me, it's a competitive industry, isn't it? There's not just you and 2 or 3 others in the country do business-to-business mobile reselling, VoIP, broadband. There's loads do it. And all of these guys, they're after your tails. They're after your business. They're after your customers, yeah? And so conversely, we have to be aware of that and we have to be after theirs as well. But they're after them. So we need, or I've said here, we must use all the methods we can to retain those customers' loyalty and affection. So in other words, we've got to do everything we can. Once we've got a customer on board, everything we can, guys, to keep that customer satisfied and happy. So they're going to want to stay with us, do more business with us, and refer us and recommend us to other businesses that they might know. Would you agree with that by and large, yeah?
Yeah.
And here's why. Because our customers pay our mortgages. They feed us, they give us a good Christmas, they send us on holiday. They do, indirectly. Because they're the ones, somebody said earlier, when we talked about the components of a business, they're the ones who make up the sales of the business. The sales of the business bring the money in. And I know you know this, but we need to be reminded of things usually as often as we need to learn new things. And I just want you to be consciously aware of this. So let's begin each day, it says here, with gratitude and positive intention towards our customers. and let each day be a new opportunity to serve them with love and sincerity. Let us remind ourselves that by focusing on our customers in this way, we shall ultimately enrich ourselves. Here's a concept for you. Because self-enrichment, true self-enrichment, is only ever the byproduct of sincerely enriching others. It's like do unto others as you would have done unto yourself, yeah? So one of the most natural laws of compensation, which means getting paid, is by helping other people to achieve their goals, improving the quality of their lives, improving the quality of their businesses. And if they're happy with that, they'll pay us forever and a day. And so we'll become naturally enriched, yeah? It's like karma in a way. And I've said here, and I said, I'm not getting all woo-woo on you. It was just a concept, but the company we work in each day is nothing more than a garden, yeah? A garden planted with many healthy and beautiful flowers, Ange. Picture that. But we call these flowers, in this instance, we call them customers. So we want these flowers to flourish and naturally multiply. So that means we want their businesses to do well. That's what I mean about good intention towards their businesses. When we speak to those customers and say, how's business? How's it going? I hope it's going well. Let's mean it. Let's not just say it as a platitude. Let's actually bloody mean it, yeah? And let those flowers, let the flowers that are with other customers, in other companies that are in other gardens, when they see ours, let them yearn to be with us. Let's take those customers off our competitors. This is all metaphorical, yeah? But what that means is let the flowers in other gardens yearn to grow in our garden instead. Let's have them off the competitors. Do you know who your competitors are locally, by the way? Yeah. Well, let's go for them. Let's have their customers. For fuck's sake, let's go for them and take them. Because they're trying to do it to you. Make no mistake about it. And I've also said here that we know that a real attitude of gratitude will give us greater latitude. What that means is being grounded and grateful every day will give us more scope, will give us more latitude, we'll be more open to being attractive and attracting the good things that are in harmony with the growth and success of our business. We know in our hearts that abundance comes from service to the many. I love that because I heard that years ago. A guy called Jim Rohn, who was an amazing sort of modern day philosopher. We tend to think of philosophers as people from times gone by, but they're really not. A philosopher's just someone who thinks and then shares those thoughts with other people. Everybody's got a philosophy on life. But he said about service to the many, riches come from service to the many. If you think about somebody, very easy to spring to mind, Richard Branson. Everyone knows Richard Branson. And no matter how shrewd a businessman he is, no matter how tricky he can be in business, no matter how cutthroat, his businesses, of which there are many, if you think about it, he has multiple sources of income from those businesses. He takes a little money off a lot of people, which is another way of saying service to the many. He provides service to all those people who buy Virgin Mobile. I know it piggybacks off another network, but he builds them. He provides service to all those people he used to sell CDs to. He provides service to all those people he used to make records for with bands like the Rolling Stones and stuff like that. You see, so it's about serving many. The more people we can actually serve up, the stronger our business will be, the better our lives will be. So I'm going to ask Carl to print that one out for you and just have a look at it and have a think about it. And you know, anything that I offer as advice or as a concept, if you can improve on it and add to it, hey, please feel free to do so, because not me, not anybody has got the monopoly on good ideas, good concepts and stuff like that. How do you feel about that, guys? Give me some feedback, because I've done all the talking.
it's good to have something that is something that everyone agrees on in terms of philosophy and how we're going to move forward. It makes it easier to.
It's an ethos, isn't it? You know, your business, the business is a living, breathing thing. It's made up of you guys. It's made up of Carl and the other guys who aren't here now. You know, regardless of what you do in the business, you all contribute towards the business, yeah? It's a living, breathing, or that's how I think of a business. It's a living, breathing organism, yeah? And you've got to think of it as such. And it's got to, you've all got to be on the same page. You can't have, it's a team effort, isn't it? And you know what they say about team, don't you? They make an acronym of team, TEAM. Together, everyone achieves more. But that only happens if you've got a team which is all pulling in the same direction. Do you think a team of people who are all pulling in different directions, which means their own personal agendas, not the agenda of the business, of the common good, how successful, how productive would a team with that kind of just personal philosophy, all pulling in different directions, how successful would that team be? I think it'd probably just stand still, don't you? Yeah, but if we're all pulling in the same direction, guys, then bang, we're moving forward. That's what we call progress, yeah? But it takes a little bit of, commitment. So I just wanted to say to you about commitment, you know, that is the thing. But it's a commitment to the business, it's a commitment to the customers, and it's a commitment to each other. And if you do that, you don't have to really think about yourself too much, because as we said earlier, your rewards will come. If we think about all those other things and focus on all those other things and get laser focus on the job in hand, and it's a unified focus, then guess what? Your money will come, your bonuses will come, however you get paid, however you get compensated, that will be good, that will be safe, that will increase. And that's what we're all about. So it's about focus and commitment, guys. So I'm nearly done now. Has anybody got any questions or anything, any comments or observations to make on that?
Just one question. How did you...
Please, yeah.
How did you think our customers felt about us as a team of people when you were contacting them?
Say again, please.
How do you think our customers felt about us as a team of people when you were contacting them directly yourself?
Good question. By and large, okay. I had a few who... I had one person complain because they had cancelled and it had not been followed up properly. I had 2 or 3 people who were fallout. Who, I spoke to them and said, "Oh, we've just started using another provider for VoIP or Business Mobile a month ago," or something like that. But they were still on the data that I was contacting. I had one person who only wanted to speak to you, Ange. Honestly, I had this guy. I ring the guy up and I said, "Hi, this is Stephen. I'm calling on behalf of G-Tech." I think his name was David, this guy. And he must have seen my mobile number or something and not sort of associated it with your business. So he was very suspicious and very guarded with me. And it's a funny thing that, have you ever felt on the telephone, have you ever felt somebody's suspicion or like a bad aura or bad energy just down a telephone?
Yeah.
It's easy to feel it when we're together in a room physically because it creates what we call an atmosphere. But there's actually a transference of feeling. And so some people can make hello sound like a death threat, can't they? You know? And this guy was a bit like that. He was extremely guarded. And I don't know whether we got cut off or whether whether the line just went bad. But I had to call him back. Because as soon as I'd said my name's Stephen on the first call to him, he said, "Oh yeah, gee, where's Ange then?" I said, I'm sorry, I don't know." Maybe she's, I don't know. I don't know where she is. I said, I'm working remotely out of the office today, sir. So then when I called back, he was a little bit more settled down. He said, and I said, oh, look, our managing director's finally getting out and brushing his briefcase off and coming and seeing all the customers and giving you an update on the telecoms industry. And he just said, oh, well, just pass it on to Ange. We've dealt with her for years. So, you know, he only wanted to deal with you. He was in, which is a good thing. That proves that you've got a good relationship with the guy, that he values that relationship, that he's probably not going anywhere else. He wasn't easy for me to talk to because he's got a linear vision, G-Tech, Ange. That's it. End of conversation. Other people who I spoke to, yeah, by and large, very good. What's that boutique hotel? Is it called Oddfellows?
Yeah.
Yeah, really good. Really, really good. She said, the lady there said that they absolutely loved the system you'd put in one of their hotels. She said that Chris did an absolutely fantastic job, that it was amazing. Well done, Chris. Yeah, I mean, by and large, and there's more business there. They've got another site. They want another system in there, either now or when that runs out. And I think Carl was going to go and see them, or Darren. I'm not too sure. But by and large, good. I think you're 70% of the way there. I'm not getting any. No one said, "Oh, you're an appalling company," or there's been none of that. I think you don't have to be an appalling company to lose customers, though. You need to maintain contact with customers regularly. You need to keep in touch. You need to show that you care. And if we can just adopt this mindset of caring because we're caring for the customers, not because we're caring about retaining the customer for our own benefit. It sounds like a funny thing to do, but just like I said to you earlier about that transference of feeling, has anyone ever made you feel bad on the telephone just with their vibe? And we've all experienced that. That is what we call in sales. And like we said earlier, guys, we're all selling to a lesser or greater extent. It's what we call a transference of feeling. And people pick that up on a subconscious level. That's on their intuition that, hey, this company really care, you know? So if we do that, that will bolster and shore up customer loyalty. Customer loyalty is hard. People just leave you like that. People leave you for a £5 a month less, for £1 a month less, for somebody with a sharp line coming in £1 a month less. And it's okay, we lose one, then we lose two, then all of a sudden we've lost £1,000 a month. Then we've lost 2, 3, 4, 5 grand. Now it starts to matter. Because guess what? Everything counts. We might not think so. We might not always realise it, but everything counts. So we've got to be fully committed to doing the sort of thing or developing the ethos and the philosophy that I've been talking about. So is everybody committed to that? Yes?
Yeah.
Yes or yes?
Yeah.
Gonna just finish with a little, I love this story. I heard it years ago from a friend of mine. Who likes a story? Good. Could we? You know what? We spend our lives telling stories. Life is one big episode of Jack and Ori, if you remember that. We're telling stories to our kids. We're telling stories to each other, and we're telling stories to ourselves. It's our internal dialogue, yeah? It's what makes up our self-confidence, our self-esteem. A lot of people talk a very positive game. They say, oh, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, absolutely. Inside, they're shitting themselves. Inside, they are not self-confident. Inside, they've got low self-esteem. We all know what I'm talking about. It happens all the time. The deal is that voice in your head, you've got to take control of it. You've got to take control of your internal dialogue, yeah? And that takes a big commitment as well. But this story is about commitment. And the story goes that a long, long time ago, before we had cars or even bicycles, push bikes, in a little village in Mexico, there was a drought. And this drought lasted for about a year. And that village and all the neighboring towns and villages, everything was going wrong. The animals were dying. The people were becoming emaciated. They were starving. They couldn't grow any food. They couldn't feed the animals. They didn't have water to drink or wash. It was terrible. And this went on, as I say, for over a year. And one day, a priest in this village, he gets all the people together on a Sunday morning, and he stands up there on the mount and he says, you know what, we're not going to do